presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Ohio.
The Indians travel to the land of Lady Liberty to take on a Yankees franchise in the unique position of reloading for the future. Among the veterans traded recently, Andrew Miller, who showed Tribe fans just how dominant he has been in the Bronx the last couple of seasons. New York is the world's biggest stage, and it's a pair of shortstops that headline the marquee. 22-year-old All-Star Francisco Lindor for the Tribe, and 26-year-old Didi Gregorius in Yankee pinstripes. However, Josh Tomlin will try to steal the show next on Sports Time Ohio. A warm day in the Bronx, Yankee Stadium in New York, as the Indians invade to open up a three-game weekend series against the Yankees. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. A different-looking New York ball club than the one we saw in Cleveland right before the All-Star break. Gone is Carlos Beltran, obviously the two key guys in the back end of their bullpen. And then today, Mark Teixeira announced he will retire at season's end. So times are a-changing for the guys in the pinstripes. But they do have a very talented young player in Didi Gregorius. He plays the same position as Indian shortstop Francisco Lindor.
Well, we've talked a lot this year about great shortstops in the American League, and we're going to get a look at him in this series. And we all know about Francisco Lindor because we get the opportunity to watch this guy play every day. Not only offensively is he good, but defensively he's tremendous. He can run the bases. He's a clutch hitter. He's just a great performer. But so is this guy, Didi Gregorius, a left-handed hitter who kills left-handed pitching. As a matter of fact, this guy had a nice series in Cleveland. He went 6 for 16, a couple of home runs, 3 RBIs, very surprising, and he's filling in the shoes of Derek Jeter. Not an easy thing to do. You look at the numbers from these two guys over the year, very similar, although Lindor's is a little bit better, but don't sell Gregorius short.
Well, Rick, the Indians come into this series after getting sort of beaten up by the Minnesota Twins with regards to their starting pitching. So Josh Tomlin takes the ball tonight. They would love to get him deep into the ball game, and that's a pretty good bet because only once in his last 10 starts has he failed to go at least 6 innings.
And Josh Tomlin was actually supposed to pitch yesterday, but they bumped him and moved him to this start today in New York. So he's a finesse pitcher. He's got a great curveball that's been working very well. His cutter's his #1 pitch. He moves his fastball inside and probably pitches better than any other Indians pitcher on the inside part of the plate. In his career, 3-2 against the Yankees. It'll be his 7th start, and he's the team leader in wins, looking for win number 12. He'll be matched up against Michael Pineda, who has never faced the Indians, but a big right-hander. He can strike you out. He can give up the home runs. We'll see if the Indians can score first and take advantage of that right field porch.
The Central Division leading Cleveland Indians opening up this 3-game series against the Yankees tonight here in New York. We'll be back with the first pitch coming up next. Cleveland Indians baseball is brought to you by WB Mason, the official office supplier of the Cleveland Indians. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. And by your local Toyota dealers, visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. field behind Michael Pineda. Let's take a look at, we will get a look at the lineup here in a moment, but first we'll go down to Andre Knott.
Well, both Tyler Naquin and Francisco Lindor were able to go to MLB Network today. It was a national thing. They were seen everywhere. I talked to Francisco about it, and he says, I want America to know about Tyler Naquin. He goes, I think he's the Rookie of the Year. And he goes, the best way to find out is to let people talk about him and see him. They both have pushed each other to get to this point. They both take pride in being draft picks of the Indians. And they says, and the one thing that Francisco said is, Tyler doesn't talk about himself a lot. He goes, so I'm going to talk about him. I'm going to be his #1 supporter the rest of this year, so people know who Tyler Naquin is and how important he is to the Cleveland Indians.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Andre. The word is definitely getting out as the Indians continue to lead the American League Central Division. And we'll take a look at the starting lineup brought to you by Progressive. Carlos Santana will lead it off. Jason Kipnis batting second. Then it is Francisco Lindor third. Mike Napoli, Jose Ramirez, Lonnie Chisenhall in the middle. Then Tyler Naquin, Abraham Almonte, and Chris Jimenez batting ninth.
And our Northern Ohio Hyundai starting pitcher is going to be Michael Pineda. It'll be his very first start against the Cleveland Indians, the only team in the American League he has not started against. He's 27 years old. He'll make his 22nd start. He's 5-10, but the guy can strike you out. 143 strikeouts, just 35 walks. He's allowed 20 home runs this year. And in this ballpark on the year, he's 3-4 in 11 starts at home.
Well, Carlos Santana stands in, ready to get us underway. And Pineda's first pitch is a little low and away, ball one. That nailed the outside part of the plate, evens the count of 1-1. Pulls it foul. Pineda jumps ahead of the count. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Now comes the shift. You see where Headley going all the way from the third base side over there on the right side, and that'll move Castro over back to short.
Struck him out. Elevated the fastball. 1 down.
Let's set the defense for you for the Yankees. They are rated 7th in the league. They have made 61 errors. In the outfield from left to right, it's going to be Gardner in left, Ellsbury in center, Hicks is over in right, Headley at third, Castro at short, Ref Snyder is at second, Teixeira, recently retired, told everybody he's going to retire at the end of the year, is at first, Sanchez doing the catching.
Now Jason Kipnis. And he takes a fastball for a strike. Kipnis went 10 for 35 on the homestand with 8 runs scored, 7 driven in. 1-1. Kipnis on pace to drive in 90 runs on the year. Already a career high in homers with 18. 2 balls and a strike. Robbie Alomar hit 20 back in 01. That's well within the sights of Jason Kipnis now.
Maybe this weekend.
There's a line drive base hit into right field. _127th hit allowed by Pineda in 119 2/3 innings. Dale Scott, the crew chief, has the plate. Veteran Bob Davidson at first, Lance Barrett at second, Dan Isanya is at third. Up comes Francisco Lindor. And sets up low and away, and it's off the plate, 1-0. He went 7 for 17 a year ago here in Yankee Stadium. Plus he hit the first home run by a left-handed hitter off Dellin Betances.
Yes, he did. It was in the 8th inning in a tie game. 1 swing gave him the lead.
1 ball, 1 strike.
You know, you look at Pineda, And he's 5th in all of baseball when it comes to swing percentage rate. So he's got swing and miss stuff. Trails Kershaw, Scherzer, Fernandez, and Syndergaard. That's Pineda. You wouldn't think so, but
why is he giving him so many hits then, I wonder?
I don't know. Maybe he leaves too many balls in the middle of the play.
Kipnis got a great jump. Here's the throw.
Missed him.
And he's called out.
I did not. I think he missed him. Kipnis is going to run. And I saw nothing but daylight on that tag from where I'm sitting. Now, I could be wrong. He might have got something else, but I saw about a 6-inch gap. The throw beat him, and he looked like he was dead to rights. But let's see if he tags him. Would he tag?
He missed him.
Right. He didn't tag anything. He didn't tag his helmet. Watch. Up it comes. Unless he got that helmet right there.
Maybe he did graze the helmet.
If he grazed it, I'll tell you, that's close. And now, do you want to, in that first inning, do you want to use that challenge? It looked like he missed him unless he grazed the helmet. Okay, they're going to say he grazed it. But I saw nothing but daylight.
He must have just barely ticked the helmet.
Well, it may not be worth the challenge at this point in time.
Might be a tough one to get overturned.
Exactly.
Picked at third by Headley. And the Indians are out here in the first. The Yankees are coming to bat. Joe Girardi. Pair of left-handed hitters at the top. It's brought to you by Spitzer Automotive. Brett Gardner, Jacoby Ellsbury. Then a switch hitter, Mark Teixeira. Brian McCann, left-handed bat. Switch hitting, Chase Headley hits 5th. Right-hander, Starlin Castro, Gary Sanchez, and Rob Refsnyder. Switch hitter, Aaron Hicks will bat 9th. Josh Tomlin's first pitch is in for a called strike. Tomlin did not face the Yankees when they came to Cleveland before the trading deadline, or before the All-Star break, excuse me. Curveball, and that's a beauty, in for a strike quickly. 0-2. Missed inside with a fastball to keep him honest. Josh Tomlin started the season 7-0. Currently stands 11-3 on the year. He went 2-2 in the month of July. just missed, really keeping him honest inside. 2-2.
I like that because that's something the Indian staff didn't do against the Minnesota Twins, was stay inside a couple of times.
And Gardner's a guy who loves to slap it the other way anyway.
Well, he fouls balls off the third base dugout. He takes a lot of time to get into the box. There you go. He stayed in there again.
Tomlin throws him out, 1 away.
Let's take a look at the Northern Ohio Hyundai starting pitcher. Josh Tomlin making his 20th start. And team high 11 wins, looking for win number 12. As you mentioned, he didn't start against the Yankees in that 4-game series. But in his career, he's 3-2 against them. He's 1-2 in this ballpark. This will be his 4th start here in Yankee Stadium.
Now Jacoby Ellsbury, batting .268 on the year. You saw on the graphic a moment ago, Tomlin has walked 14 batters. He's faced 494 batters on the year. Base hit in the left field by Ellsbury. The Yankees have a 1-out base runner.
I remember when the Yankees were back in Cleveland, I think the first game of that series, Ellsbury led off. And then after that, Girardi switched it and moved Gardner up there, hit Ellsbury second, and I think it's been that way ever since.
Mark Teixeira announced before the game today that this will be his final season. He will retire at the end of the year, and he gets a nice applause from the Yankee faithful. Ellsbury has 17 steals on the year, but he has been caught 8 times.
Yeah, one time this guy was pretty much automatic when it comes to stealing bases. He'd get up into the 50s easily. But we've got a guy on the mound that really controls the running game as well as any Indians pitcher. There's only been 1 attempt this year, and it was successful against Tomlin. And I'm trying to think back. It was Kansas City. I think it was Hosmer that just took off and guessed right and stole the base on him.
They tell us it was Whit Merrifield of
Okay.
Kansas City. Interesting approach though by Ellsbury. If you notice, he will stay on the base right up until almost Tomlin comes to the set position, and then he takes his lead.
Which is good because Josh likes to throw over there, and once he comes set, he holds it for a little while. You know, he's got that short arm position that he can throw to first base.
There's a drive deep into right field, and it's going to short hop the wall. Chisenhall plays it well, but Teixeira's into second, and the Yankees have runners at second and third with 1 out. Double number 9 for Mark Teixeira.
And for Josh Tomlin, that's the time you get him before he can settle in. His highest ERA is in that first inning. This short hops the short wall down in right field. And that's what you do when you have speed on first base, even though you're in a small ballpark like this. I think Lonnie might have had a chance, but you can't throw the ball to second base when you have Ellsbury on first rounding.
No.
He's thinking scoring, so you got to come right where he did.
You're right. With nobody on base, that would have been a contested double.
Yes, it would have been.
Brian McCann serving as the DH tonight. And a left-handed bat with good power, especially when you've got that short porch in right field. It's only 314 feet
Well, this
down the
guy
right field line.
loves the ball in, loves it down. He gets right on the dish. It says 314, and it looks a lot shorter than that.
Tomlin delivers a first pitch strike. McCann in the DH spot because the Yankees recently traded Carlos Beltran, who had been the primary DH. The 1-1. Pulls it foul. There had been speculation around the trade deadline that New York was trying to move Brian McCann, but that's a big number attached to him. He's owed $17 million each of the next 2 seasons. There's not a lot of teams that can take that on.
No question.
Not that he couldn't help some teams. Though not having a spectacular year, hitting .236. Does have 15 home runs. Routine roller to second. That'll get a run home, and the Yankees will take a 1-0 lead. 2 down in the inning as Teixeira goes to third. Ellsbury scores, and for Jacoby Ellsbury, that's his 45th run scored on the year.
Well, right there, if you're Tomlin, you minimize the damage. It's a little weak ground ball to short. You get the out, although they score. Get this out here, and not a lot of harm done.
Easy to second guess after the ball was hit the way it was, that boy, if they'd have had the infield in, they wouldn't have been able to score. But most managers don't like to play the infield in early in a game. You figure, I'll trade the run for an out rather than give them a chance to maybe have a big inning early.
I'll give them 1 run instead of 2. They don't want to take that chance of maybe a little blooper beating you early in the game too. So that's the biggest difference. And you have a lot of time left, and you have to trust your offense is going to get on the board and score.
Chase Headley takes down and in. Headley was 5 for 15 against the Indians back in Cleveland. A couple of runs driven in. Three balls and a strike with the right-handed hitting Starlin Castro on deck. Tomlin with a good pitch and a full count.
Nice cutter on the inside part of the plate. Yeah, this is a Yankee team. You come in, and now with some of the guys they did trade, Carlos Beltran, who was leading them in home runs and RBIs, it's a team you look at that's no resemblance of the Yankees past.
Tough play for Kipnis. Backhand, high throw. Napoli's there. Did he stay on the bag? He did, and the inning is over. Yankees get a run on 2 hits. They leave one stranded after 1. It's New York 1, Cleveland nothing. Mike Napoli will lead off for Cleveland. Napoli has hit in 6 straight games. He homered in 5 in a row. Yesterday had a base hit to extend the hitting streak. You know, it's interesting about Napoli. We talk so much about his ability to work the count. He sees more pitches per plate appearance than any hitter in baseball, and yet when he swings at the first pitch, he's hitting over 500 on the year. Doesn't happen a lot, but he's 17 for 33.
Well, he knows, it seems like when he swings, it's going to be the pitch he's looking for, and he gets after it and hits it. We have seen him foul a lot back. He was funny yesterday, even though that home run streak stopped.
Casey Blake with 28 homers from the right side back in 04. Napoli's one back of that. With a lot of baseball still to be played. 2-2 the count. Down and in. And the payoff pitch is low, ball 4. So the leadoff man aboard for Cleveland here in the second. Take a look at the keys to the game. They're brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Pick up the pen, looking for Josh Tomlin to get the bullpen a breather, get a little deeper into the game than what we've seen. Bullpen's pitched more than the starters have the last 4 days.
Yeah, they've had a lot of work. That was a nice at bat. Napoli laid off a splitter and also a slider in that at bat.
Jose Ramirez pops the first pitch out of play. He's picked up a hit in 9 straight games. Shoots it the other way, foul. That's basically the way the Yankees are playing Ramirez too. They've got Gardner over near the line and left. Ellsbury, the center fielder, over toward left center. And Hicks deep but well off the line and right. The 0-2. And a rare strikeout. Napoli on the delayed steal. They got him.
It's almost like he read that ball going in the dirt and he took off. And I think that's the situation. Although Ramirez did foul it off, Sanchez caught it, made a good throw, and he threw out Mike Napoli. I think Nap just read that pitch going into the dirt as a splitter. He caught it, and then you see him pick up, and he was going to show the umpire he had it, and then makes the throw, and there goes the tag. So he's thrown out 2 base runners in as many innings.
Again, a very close play. Two down, and up comes Lonnie Chisenhall. Gives you an idea, though, the pure stuff that Michael Pineda has, because he just struck out one of the toughest guys to whiff in the majors. Out of play. Lonnie Chisenhall hitting .303. 6 homers, 17 doubles. Tops it to second base. And Rob Refsnyder throws him out. 1-0 New York, middle of the second. Niagara Falls taking in the ball game tonight.
Yes, they flew in this today. They got in this afternoon. They're wearing their
Finest.
well, yes,
The Falls finest. There's a ground ball right back to Tomlin.
Kentucky Derby hat.
And Starlin Castro retired one away.
Let's take a look at the Indians defense today, brought to you by Jeep. In the outfield, it's going to be Almonte in left. Naquin is in center. Chisenhall in right. Ramirez at third. Lindor at short. Kipnis is at second. Napoli at first. Jimenez doing the catching.
The catcher, Gary Sanchez. Sanchez in his second stint with the Yankees this year. Had a call up earlier in the month of May.
Already throwing out 2 base runners today, the first 2 innings. Pretty big kid, 6'2", 230.
Tapper again. Tomlin's
getting a little PFP.
He sure is. It's his 3rd assist already tonight. 2 down. Injury report brought to you by the attorneys at Elk & Elk. And there you get a look at the injured players for New York. One of the key guys there is Greg Bird. First baseman. I guess you'd say he's the first baseman of the future with Mark Teixeira announcing his retirement.
He hadn't played all year. He had a nice year last year as a rookie.
Rob Refsnyder. I think it will be really interesting to see what the Yankees' plan is going forward. In other words, what will they do in the offseason with all of the young players that they've acquired and the trades that they made before the deadline? Naquin waits back on it, and it'll be a 2-out single. You can see Tyler had a notion to maybe try and charge and dive for that ball, but with
2 outs, you know, you have to be sure you don't want to let that ball get behind you. You know, he put it up like he might have lost it into something. Look at it. You see where he blocks it? I don't know what light it was into, unless it was directly above us on top of the stadium. Might have been right into those lights.
Aaron Hicks batting ninth. You know, the question in the offseason for New York is, will they truly try and rebuild with the young players? And we've already heard Brian Cashman say that Clint Frazier, who they got from the Indians, is not a guy that they're going to rush up here. We won't see him this year, according to Cashman.
Right.
He's looking at maybe by the middle of next season. So, you know, the Yankees historically have been a team that they spend money in the offseason. They go after free agents. Will they give it the time? Will they have the patience to see it through with some of these young players?
Well, the thing they'd like to do, you may see Alex Rodriguez gone by the end of next year. I would think, now that Teixeira announced his retirement. CC Sabathia has one more year on the docket where he's going to get big money. I think when those contracts expire, then you'll see him maybe get after some free agents and see what they have with some of their young players, because they sure bolstered their organization with a lot of trades that they got from Chapman, what they got from Miller. I don't know exactly what they got for Beltran, but
and it wouldn't be beyond the realm of possibility to see them turn around and flip these prospects and make more trades in the offseason.
That would not surprise me. Correct.
The 1-1. I don't think you can dispute the fact, though, that when Kent State's Gene Michael was running the organization from a player development standpoint, the Yankees became a dynasty again when they stuck with their young guys, the players they developed from within the organization, and made them the core of their future.
They had some great ones, though. You know, that was a lot like what the Indians did in that tenure, you know, in that same era, really, when you think about it.
2-1. Way out in front of it. You know, you're talking about Jorge Posada and Bernie Williams and Derek Jeter and Mariano Rivera and
Andy Pettitte.
Those were guys that they had in the system that they developed and brought them up. Now they supplemented better than anyone else as far as going out free agency and adding big names, but the core, the crux of those teams were guys that they developed from within.
Yeah, the Yankees have always been blamed for never staying with their young guys. Always going out and signing the free agents, you know, and those guys stayed around almost 20 years when you talk about the Jeters, Posadas, and those guys. So that's why they didn't have to have a good minor league system.
Two down here in the second inning, and a 2-2 count for Aaron Hicks. We're just missing full count. Good at bat for the light hitting Aaron Hicks here. Ref Snyder's off with the pitch, popped him up. Should be playable here for Jose Ramirez in fair territory, and the inning is over. 2 complete. The Yankees won, the Indians nothing. of baseball. Francisco Mejia waited until there were 2 strikes in his final at bat last night to extend his hitting streak to 46 games.
No kidding.
Today he got it in his first at bat with a double, so that streak is now at 47 games for Francisco Mejia.
2 strikes in his last at bat. That a way to go, kid. Keep it rolling. 47. Awesome.
Yeah.
That is really impressive.
It's the longest hitting streak in 6 decades in the minor leagues.
Oh, that's, I don't care where you're located. That is hard to do. And this kid's a catcher to boot. That means you take foul tips. You get the balls fall off your hands, your fingers, your wrists, your arms.
Maybe someday, years down the road, we'll be looking back saying, boy, isn't it a great thing that Jonathan Lucroy vetoed that trade because Francisco Mejia.
And you're exactly right. That's the first thing I thought of when I saw his name, is like, hey, maybe a good thing.
Naquin takes it's a bit high, 1-2.
Well, Milwaukee probably felt it was a good thing. That's why they wanted to make the deal, but it was Lucroy that wanted to nix it.
Naquin on a ball in the dirt, swung and missed. The tag applied. 3rd strikeout for Pineda.
Well, Indians baseball is live with the MLB.com app. You can stay connected all season with radio broadcasts, video highlights, stats, news, and more. Just download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball, on your smartphone and tablet.
Abraham Almonte fouling one off his leg. Want to send out some happy birthday wishes today to Michael DeSafi back in Cleveland, celebrating his 4th birthday. He's a huge Indians fan. They gave him an Indians uniform for his birthday. He hasn't taken it off since. That was just a couple of days ago.
Happy birthday, young man. I'm sure he's up watching. It's a Friday night. He can watch.
Right. Almonte has picked up a hit in 6 in a row. Indians had a hit in the first, a walk in the second. Both times base runners were thrown out trying to steal. 0-2. And Almonte down on strikes. That's 4 Ks for Pineda. Join Indians team president Chris Antonetti on Tuesday, August 16th at Progressive Field for the Positive Coaching Alliance breakfast presented by University Hospital Sports Medicine. Tickets available. Visit positivecoach.org/chapters/Cleveland. Now Chris Jimenez. Taking a look, and it's a strike. Michael Pineda came up with the Mariners back in 2011. Went 9-10 that rookie year with a 3.74 ERA, and when he was traded to the Yankees, the initial thought was, oh man, that's just what the Yankees need, another power arm for that starting rotation. But it just has never really panned out. Injuries have been a big part of it, and that's something you can never really count on. You just don't know how those things are going to work out. But there's a high drive, deep left. Gardner going over, and he will make the catch, and that will end the inning. The Indians go 1-2-3. And New York leads it 1-0. Friday night to stay tuned later in the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Back to the top of the order, Brett Gardner. Gardner tapped one back toward Tomlin his first time up. And he looks at a strike. Tigers lead the Mets at home 1-0. They're in the second inning. Miguel Cabrera with a ground out in the first got them on the board early. Tigers started the day 3 games back of the Indians in the AL Central.
Second straight time Tomlin's been 0-2 on Gardner. He's gone inside. Oh, he had a chance for another one.
Whoa, throwing a nice dig by Napoli on the other end. That ball hit Tomlin's glove, and I believe, Rick, it also glanced the bag at second base. But Lindor stayed with it, and Napoli did a nice job on the other end.
Like a little pinball game. See, we hit a changeup. You see Tomlin, his glove going every which way. He thought it was hit a little harder than what it was, and a little short hop that Napoli helps his teammate out from short. Nice pick. So out number 1, get that leadoff man aboard.
And that's roped. Chisenhall, he'll dig it out. Ellsbury's got himself a 1-out double. Our player profile on Yankees first baseman Mark Teixeira, a switch hitter with over 400 career home runs, 5th most all time.
Always been an outstanding first baseman.
Yeah.
You know, injuries have plagued him the last few years. But one of the very good switch hitters in the game of baseball.
And I think any athlete will tell you that when injuries continue to mount year after year, it kind of saps the fun, the enjoyment out of the game.
Sure it does. I mean, you're used to playing every day, and you've got to battle back, and you've got to rehab, and sooner or later it gets a little old, you know, to work so hard to get out there. They spend as much time getting ready for a game than they take playing the game. But boy, what a good player in his career on both sides of the ball. And you saw the shot of all the switch hitters, the great ones, and he's right up there.
Ground ball and a diving stop by Kipnis, but
Saved the
his
run.
only play will be to come home and keep Ellsbury from scoring. Yankees are at first and third with 1 out.
That's you know what? That's a situation there where you save a run. I mean, if that ball gets into the outfield, Ellsbury scores easily. So these two guys have set up really the ball game so far. It was in the first inning where Ellsbury singled and Teixeira doubled. Now Ellsbury doubles, Teixeira singles. And they have first and third now. And now they're looking for that same ground ball that McCann hit the last time, and they can turn a double play.
Let's go down to Andre with more on Mark Teixeira.
You know, Terry Francona was in the Texas organization when he was in Double-A. And he said, you read all these reports about players, and you say, sure, he's a great defensive player. Sure, he's a great switch hitter. He says, then he got up to the big leagues, and he was blown away by how professional he was. And he says when he was in Boston, they did all they could to get him. He says he wishes he would have retired tonight before the game because he's been a thorn in his side. But he says if there's a pro out there that he wants to have his guys emulate, it would be Mark Teixeira.
Yeah. But again, 7 times in his career, he's been on the disabled list. And it just, I think after a while, mentally, it just wears on you.
Well, it goes to show you how this game is full circle. You know, Tito had him when this kid was in Double-A. Ended up playing against him all those years. He was in Texas, ended up going to where? Atlanta
For a couple of years.
Was it Anaheim before
Briefly
he
with
signed,
the Angels.
and then signed a big deal here in New York. And he's been here for what, the last 7 or 8 years.
And this is his 8th year with the Yankees. Plugged. And that's going to get 1 home for sure. Teixeira rolling around second. He's in the third. He'll have to hold there. But the Yankees extend their lead to 2-0 on the 10th double of the year by Brian McCann.
Well, he changed his eye level on the pitch before, and then I don't think he made a bad pitch here. He gave him a lot of swinging room. They want to go away, but it was up, and it wasn't. I mean, it was away, but he gave him a lot of swinging room. You could see the reaction by Chris Gimenez after that. That ball had to be down if he was going to get, and that's what they were looking for, a double play. But they only get 1 because Teixeira couldn't score from first. So it's 3 consecutive hits. It's a 2-0 ball game now.
And up to the plate will be Chase Headley as Mickey Callaway talks things over with Tomlin.
Watch the reaction of Gimenez. Ball's elevated. Watch him. Can't believe it. That's that pitch you want down. That's where you want to roll over and get the double play, but being elevated, it was easy for him to hit the gap.
Yep.
And you know, that's their 3rd double, so 3 extra base hits right now, and now you're going to see that infield in. Same situation in the first, and they kept him back. McCann got the ground ball to get the easy RBI, but this inning a little different. They're down 2-0. We're going to try and cut it off here with Headley, the hitter.
Some of that may be the fact the Indians only have 1 hit, so their offense hasn't done much here against Pineda, and Francona may feel like we've got to try and keep them from opening this game up. All 3 have been in off the plate.
You know, being very careful here with Headley. even though first base is open. There's still just one out, and you've got Castro, the right-hander, on deck. But still, they're going to put him on now. He went to make his perfect pitch and see if he could get him to swing at anything. He did not. So let's put him on. It'll be the first walk. It'll load the bases, and there's still just one out.
Starlin Castro hit a comebacker to the mound his first time up. Tomlin would love to get the ball hit right back to him here. And it's ball one. Hit well. Deep right field. Lonnie's back. He's at the wall. It's a grand slam.
#12th home run for Castro, and this is the big boy. Clears the bases, makes it a 6-0 ball game right now. And boy, oh boy, he couldn't minimize anything. And after that walk, it's been 4 consecutive hits. The first 3, the walk, and now there it goes to right field. You can see he just stayed on it. Doesn't take much of a poke to get it out of here. That counts for 4.
Five straight have reached. All 5 have scored in the third on the first grand slam by Starlin Castro of his career. And Gary Sanchez looks at ball one, and the Indians bullpen immediately gets to work.
Again.
Swung on and missed. 1-1 the count.
This has been the common theme now in the last 5 games. Starting with that Minnesota series where the pitchers, the starters, have fallen behind, have given up a lot of hits and a lot of extra base hits.
2-1. Jose Ramirez throws him out, 2 down. And up comes Rob Refsnyder. One ball, one strike. And now Tomlin gets ahead 1-2.
The big crooked numbers have hurt the Indians.
There's another long fly ball left field. Almonte will make the catch on the move to end the inning. Yankees score 5 in the third, 4 on 1. Big swing of the bat. They lead it 6-0.
is set for August 12th and 13th. That'll be Friday and Saturday when we return home next weekend. Mike Trout and the Angels will be in town, and this year's 25-minute shows are presented by First Energy, and they are set to a One Louder theme. Visit Indians.com for your tickets.
Carlos Santana leading off the fourth. First time through the order, the Indians were 1 for 8 with 4 strikeouts against Pineda.
Yeah, he breezed through the first 3. The only 2 base runners they had, Matt, they threw out at second base. It was Kipnis and Napoli. Well, again, here's the offense going to have to dig themselves out of a little bit of a hole here with a big 5-run inning. But this is a park, short right field porch, as you see. You can doesn't take much to get it over that fence.
The 2-2. A foul back. There's the 2-2. And it's up and away, full count. Ground ball up the middle, and that'll get through. So Carlos Santana delivers the Indians' second hit of the night. They get their leadoff man aboard for the second time. Our great clip of the game comes to you from yesterday, a game in which all 4 starting infielders hit a home run. That had not happened for the Indians in a long, long time. It's only the second time it's ever happened for the franchise.
That is unbelievable. I didn't think about it. I know they hit the 4 home runs, but all infielders, yeah. Didn't all outfielders have an assist?
And that was the most bizarre element. All 3 outfielders had an assist. That's never happened in the same game in Major League history.
That's crazy.
And adding one more bizarre twist, Joe Mauer was the guy thrown out all 3 times.
Well, I told you he had a bad day on the bases. He should. I didn't think about that, but he was, wasn't he? Well, they could use a 2-pointer here. This is Pineda. This is his first start against the Indians. Now, it's a big guy. He's got a good fastball, but he's got the splitter that can go down, straight down in a way to the left-handers. This is the slider. So he's got a pitch that can go either way. That slider goes down and in. That splitter, the changeup, goes straight down. It can be nasty as well to go with a high fastball. But he's 5-10. He has won 2 out of his last 3 games. His last start was against Tampa. And of course, in the division, teams get to know you a little bit more and they have an idea what you throw. But his last 2 wins, one came against Baltimore where he went 6 innings, gave up 5 hits, not allowed a run. And he went 7 innings against Houston, 5 hits, and allowed just 1 run. So sometimes you can look and throw the record out the door if a team's never faced a guy before.
Yeah, because as you pointed out, it's different when you're in the division to see a guy a lot. It's altogether different when you only guy in the roster or in the lineup, I should say, that has faced him is Mike Napoli.
Napoli, right? Because he's in Boston or played against the Yankees and faced him before for whatever reason. Well, he breezed through the lineup the first time. As you mentioned, he had 4 strikeouts.
Outside, full count.
But the Indians have been good this year in adjusting. You know, when a guy goes through that first time through the lineup, they make adjustments pretty well. They have this year. You know, they've been even though they've been getting beat, they've been scoring some runs. Their offense, it hasn't bothered them. They've been up there fighting and scoring a lot of runs. What, seven games now? At least 5 runs in a game.
3-2 pitch, slowly chopped to first. Teixeira will just take the out on Kipnis, 1 away. Santana in the scoring position. Yeah, really, if you go back, if you take away the Baltimore series in which they only scored 6 runs in the 3 games, the offense has been fine. But the starting pitchers in the last 12 games have 2 wins and 6 losses.
That's who's struggling, and that's what this team is built on, is their starters. So the last couple times through the rotation, it's been a rough going for the boys.
Francisco Lindor grounded out his only time up. In the air, slicing, that will get out of play. The count 1-2. And a called strike puts Lindor in the hole now.
Doubled up with that fastball. That's a really good pitch to lock him up inside. Surprised he didn't save that for a 2-strike pitch. The way that slider and splitter have been working for him.
Struck him up. 5th K for Pineda, 2 down here in the inning. Stat of the game brought to you by Buick as you take a look at Mike Napoli coming to the plate. Only Juan Gonzalez more homers in his first 100 games with the Indians. Mark Trumbo leading the league with 31. Todd Frazier, Edwin Encarnacion with 30. Napoli, Chris Davis of Oakland, Josh Donaldson of Toronto, and Nelson Cruz of Seattle, all with 27 to start the day. And he threw it by him, 0-2. This, so far, looks like the Michael Pineda the Yankees thought they were trading for back when they got him from Seattle 5 years ago. Chopped to short. And Castro will throw him out. No runs, a hit, a man left. Middle of the 4th, Yankees 6, Indians nothing. Bottom of the 4th inning as we take a look at our Quicken Loans Rocket Arms best record for the team through first 19 starts of a season. Gaylord Perry was 16-3. Well, the Indians were in his first 19 starts. Indians are pretty good in Tomlin's starts this year, but not tonight. Aaron Hicks will lead it off. Yankees sent 8 men to the plate in the 3rd. Scoring 5 times. No balls, 2 strikes.
Aaron Hicks, a guy that came over from Minnesota. When he was there, he wanted to quit switch hitting. They ended up having Rod Carew talk him back into it, into staying a switch hitter.
Struck him out. First strikeout for Tomlin. 1 away.
This will be our Circle K strikeout. He goes down and in with that little cutter. As you can see, he swings over the top of it. Well located. That was out of the strike zone, but when you're down in the count, pitchers have a tendency to expand it.
Top of the order, Brett Gardner 0 for 2. Both times tonight he's hit it back to Josh Tomlin. First time was right to him. Second time it glanced off his glove and went to the shortstop Lindor, who threw him out.
It's funny, he had him down 0-2 in the first 2 at-bats.
Right back to him again. 2 away here in the 4th.
Well, it's night 2 of 2016 Rocket Blast on August 13th. The Indians will take on the Angels, and then the first 12,500 fans will get a Bob Feller bobblehead. And all fans can enjoy a pregame block party out in the right field district. Just go to Indians.com for your tickets.
When the Yankees came to Cleveland just before the All-Star break, they were a team trying to get back to the 500 mark to see if they still had a chance to compete. They did get back to the 500 mark by series end, as Jacoby Ellsbury picks up a hit for the 3rd time in the ball game. But right out of the All-Star break, they went to Boston, lost 2 out of 3. And even though they won 4 straight after that, the decision had already been pretty much cast that it was time for them to look to the future. And they started unloading players. Aroldis Chapman. Of course, Andrew Miller came to the Indians in a trade. Then Carlos Beltran was dealt to the Rangers. By all accounts, it wasn't so much Brian Cashman's decision to move forward with these trades. It was having to convince the ownership that this was the right decision for the Yankees.
We have to be sellers. We've got to build up the minor league system. Which is, when's the last time you've seen the Yankees ever do anything like that?
I don't think ever.
Right. Because you were talking about it today when you first started covering it. That's when the Yankees were last time, when they were, you know, as bad as they are right now.
Kind of like the Indians. When the Yankees came into being the Yankees under Joe Torre, you know, that dynasty that actually started under Buck Showalter, and then Joe Torre stepped in.
Right.
They won all the world championships, but that's when they, and since then I don't remember them ever being a seller at the deadline. The 0-1 pitch missed outside.
Well, and then on the other side of town, you've got the Mets that were in the World Series last year.
Yeah.
And everybody, you know, that's the saving grace for these New Yorkers. But, you know, Yankees and Mets fans, they don't get along, and they finished their series, their 4-game series last night here in Yankee Stadium.
And the Mets are going to have a tough time just winning a wild card spot this year.
Well,
it doesn't look like they're going to catch the Nationals.
The injuries have been a lot of them for the Mets.
2-1 count for Teixeira with 2 down here in the 4th. Threw it by him, and the count evens up at 2-2.
Yeah, between Ellsbury and Teixeira tonight, they're 5 for 5 to this point. They have scored 3 runs.
Mets have gone ahead of the Tigers 2-1. They're in the 4th in Detroit. Full count. Ellsbury's off. Lindor with the shift on. Throws out Teixeira. 4 complete. Yankees 6. Indians nothing. Brought to you by Levin Furniture. For the best deals on furniture and mattresses, shop Levin's. New York up 6-0. 5th inning. And the Indians have just 2 hits tonight. Jose Ramirez, Lonnie Chisenhall, and Tyler Naquin due up. 1 ball, 1 strike. Boy, just as fast as the Mets took the lead, the Tigers have come right back. They're up 3-2 now on New York in the 4th.
Yeah, offensively they've been clicking. They've been firing on all cylinders.
And I believe that's against Noah Syndergaard tonight.
It is.
Here's the 1-2 to Ramirez. And he lines it into right field for a base hit. So once again, 3 times in 5 innings, the Indians had their leadoff man aboard. Let's go down to Andre.
Lonnie Chisenhall has gone through there's some ups and downs as a major league player, and he says this year he's finally found that part where he's kind of gained some confidence, where he just believes in himself. He says, if I go 0-for-4, fine. If I go 4-for-4, fine. He also has done something a little different with his bat, Rick. We talked about Jason Kipnis a couple days ago going to a heavier bat. Remember? He's got a home run. He's hit more home runs than he's ever hit before. Lonnie, after going through some wrist injuries and some injuries in spring training, decided to go to a lower ounce bat. He says it's worked for him. He feels like he's faster to the zone, and he's going to stay with it the rest of the year.
Okay, you know, it all depends on what hitters feel like. I mean, you can change and go down lower if you feel that bat's getting a little heavy and you want to get a little quicker. I remember a couple of years ago when Lonnie was choking up on the bat all the time.
Looks like he is again.
Yeah, what's wrong with that? I mean,
not a lot, but just a little bit.
That, you know, just to get a better feel for it. If you got to go down an ounce, that's fine. These guys swing, a lot of guys swing light bats to begin with. And I'll bet you one thing too, with the lighter bat you use, the more you'll crack.
Were you a player that, as the season wore on, if you got into August, would you automatically go to a lighter bat?
No, unless you're really feeling sluggish or something like that happens. No, or you choke up a little bit more. There's some times where your bat doesn't feel as good, and all of a sudden you may take batting practice with another model and say, gosh, for whatever reason it feels better in my hands. You don't think about the weight as much as you think about how it feels. You know, it just feels comfortable. And you may change models. You could change models during the course of the year, not only with ounces, but also skinnier handles, things like that. You know, now they have that tape they wrap around the handles that give it a little different feel to it, which when I grab one of those, it feels very comfortable, but doesn't matter.
2-2. Well, Manny Ramirez, I mean, the stories were always interesting about how he would go to the bat rack and just
he'd grab anybody, so whoever was hot.
Yeah. Some guys are just very Albert Bell. You couldn't touch one of his bats. Some guys are very particular. Other guys, whatever. I'll just grab a bat and go.
Well, everybody's different. Yeah, some people are superstitious, but it's all about how you feel. And if Lonnie feels he's got to go down and he's a little slow or was a little slow or his wrist is bothering him, you got to do it.
Lonnie swats one high in the air to center, but playable for Ellsbury. Big part of the yard out there. One away. Back to Andre.
Well, as you guys discussed bats, Abraham Almonte, when he hits right-handed, he likes a lighter bat. Guess whose bat he was using the last couple of weeks? Tommy Hunter. And he got a couple hits. Tommy Hunter has 3 bats. And Tommy, who used to be a starter, brings them everywhere he goes. And Tommy's obviously on the DL. So Abraham was looking at bats in the bat rack the other day, and kind of like what you were just talking about, he picked it up. He goes, this feels kind of good. Went on, got 2 hits with it. I told Tommy. Tommy goes, I haven't seen my bats in 3 weeks. I was wondering where they went.
Now seriously, I mean, how does he have 3 bats that he brings with him? Was he in the National League? When was he?
He was over in the National League. He just has them. Tommy's a different dude. Let's just put it that way.
No kidding. I'm trying to think about this now. You got me going.
Well, the other thing too, though, is that, you know, I remember hitters used to say, until you get established, you don't get the good wood. They said, you know, Barry Bonds back in the day, he had the primo bats.
Yeah,
so if you're a rookie or first couple year guy, you get the garbage woods.
You get that grain that's really, really thin, and it chips and it splits after about 3 or 4 hits. Yeah, that other grain that's about 1/4 of an inch apart, you know, that's like rock solid, man. It is hard. Yeah, the good hitters get that. Back when I would get when I was playing with the Indians, if you didn't get your bat order in before All-Star break, you wouldn't get an order till next spring.
By the way, Tommy Hunter played 19 games with the Cubs last year.
But so that's where the bats came
So I
from.
guess
Okay, thank you.
He needed 3 bats to get through those 19.
He never used them though. He was coming out of the bullpen.
Just in
Bullpen
case.
guys never hit.
You never know. Big guy like Tommy.
Andre, check and see if they're corked.
Now he claims that he can put on a BP performance like no pitcher you've ever seen. He says, I just get my big butt into it and they fly out the park.
Okay. Well, as we say, pitchers could always hit, hitters could always pitch until they have to.
We have seen some pretty good Indians hitting pitchers too over the years. CC Sabathia in that other dugout.
Yeah, we saw him go deep a couple of times.
Cliff Lee, Jake. Ground ball to first. Teixeira has it. He'll go to second. There's one. No return throw. 2 down.
You know, and that goes to show you the kind of first baseman Teixeira is. He could have and should have in a 6-0 game just got up and touched first base to get the out. But he's going to go for the double play because it was hit so hard. And that was a tough throw, but he gave it to him on the outside. Or I should say on the inside of the bag. He couldn't get rid of it, but I don't think they would have turned a double play anyway with Naquin.
No, I wouldn't either. But up comes Abraham Almonte.
That's how he thinks. He's thinking double play.
Left field, fair ball, down in the corner. Naquin flying, headed into third, and he'll have to stop there. Indians have runners at second and third with 2 down.
Well, that was a good approach there where he just took that pitch where it was off the dish and just sliced it down the left field line. Good for a double. It's number 7 for Almonte, but now they're going to have to get a 2-out base hit to get on the board.
Jimenez put a good swing on it the last time up, but hit it out just off the end. Didn't get much carry. Boy, a 2-out base hit right here, though, could be crucial for the Indians' hopes in this game.
Yeah, just to give you a little life going into this 5th inning. You know, you can get a couple home.
Well, something that we talked a lot about during the homestand is the Indians' ability to score with 2 outs.
Boy, they had a great homestand. I mean, that last series, even though they lost 3 out of the 4, their offense, they perked up with 2 outs.
19 of the 25 runs scored came with 2 down. In the dirt. Pineda just over 70 pitches on the night. 48 out of the 71 have been for strikes. He's only walked 1 batter. That was Napoli in the 2nd. Has struck out 5. Boy, had a good cut. Unable to square it. Second time through the order. Indians have gone 3 for 8. But no damage done yet. Checked, it was low. 2-2.
Good take right there. They went out, they talked about it, they went after that split to try and get him to chase after it, and Chris did not.
Will Carlos Santana get a chance in this inning?
Well, you hope so.
Ran it inside, and Jimenez did well to fight it off. And once again, Sanchez, the catcher, goes out to talk to Pineda.
They were just out there 2 pitches ago.
Yeah. Jimenez with a pair of runners in scoring position, trying to get the Indians on the board here tonight. The 2-2 high in the air, deep, but hooked it foul.
Well, I don't think he's going to mess around in there again. See if he goes with the slider away. He didn't chase the splitter. He tried to run the fastball inside there. He was ready for it. Well, the only thing left to throw is that slider away. 2-2 count.
In the air, deep left, Gardner back at the wall. He's out of room. It's out of here.
How about that?
Chris Jimenez with a 2-out, 3-run homer, injecting some much-needed life into the Tribe.
Not too often do you see a guy hit a home run that was going foul, come right back and hit a home run on the slider. Unbelievable. That's a boost right there. That is a bonus.
If that was a slider, that was as flat as they come.
Yeah, that is. That was a flat slider. He left it in the zone. He tried to throw it for a strike, and it went away. But you know, after he came in, I'm telling you, Jimenez was looking for it.
Yeah.
I'll bet you.
Arch, I thought originally it just looked like a fastball because
No.
it didn't do anything.
It was a slider, and I'm telling you,
Boy.
after he hit that ball on the inside part of the plate, I guarantee he says, okay, he's going to go away with this now. And he kept his hands back, and that is a boost. Let's look at it one more time. Well worth looking at, huh? Slider away, he stayed back, and I guarantee you got to be looking for that to hit it. So there it is, the home run, the 21st given up by Pineda, and the Tribe's back in it, folks. That's a 3-run homer.
No action in the Yankee bullpen after the long visit by Larry Rothschild. Top of the order. There aren't 2 down. But now Carlos Santana to the plate.
Yeah, 2 outs. Talked about it. There they go.
Santana jolts one to left center, but playable here for Ellsbury. And the inning is over. But the Indians get on the board. Chris Jimenez delivers with a 2-out thumper. Boom. 6-3 New York. Jimenez. We're only in the bottom of the 5th inning. So imperative now for Josh Tomlin to go out and put up a 0. Brian McCann will lead it off. McCann 1 for 2. He's driven in a couple of runs. He's scored a run. Doubled in the 3rd.
Yeah, that double that Josh allowed is in his last at bat. He gave him a little swinging room and made a mistake up and out over the plate. He was able to pull that ball into right center field.
Off the glove of Napoli, but it's in foul ground.
Knapp can't believe he didn't catch it. He was right in line to catch it, and it just goes off the end of his glove. I mean, look at, he's getting set. Here it comes. Look at, oh boy, he should have had that. He can't believe it. It had some hook to it, but right there, it doesn't get much easier.
In the dirt. This will be a long throw for Kipnis, but he's right on the money with it. 1 away. We'll go back to the studios for an in-game update. Here's Al Pawlowski. All right, thanks, Al. 1 out for Chase Headley. Chase intentionally walked in the 3rd inning to load the bases, and then Starlin Castro unloaded him with a slam. Low, it's 2-1. Fouled on the right side. Got him looking. Second strikeout for Tomlin tonight. 2 down in the 5th. Current Central Division standings looks like this. White Sox Royals really fading. So it would appear to be a 2-horse race between the Indians and the Tigers. It will meet 7 more times before the season is over. Including 4 in the last week of the campaign in Detroit.
Yeah, that's our last road trip. 4 to Detroit, 3 in Kansas City.
That's low, 3-0. Well, you look up at the scoreboard, and this is by far the highest scoring game in the majors tonight. Everything else is 1-1, 1-0. Washington's up on San Fran 4-1 in the 6th. But a lot of low-scoring games around the majors, with the exception of this one right here.
You know, the Indians may have some more scoring to do as well. Once the Yankees had that big 5-run third inning, gave them 6-0 lead. Again, they're digging their way out.
Tomlin on a rare walk. He did intentionally walk Headley in the 3rd, but he did not want to walk Castro here.
Well, KeyBank Kids tickets, just $15 for kids 12 and under with the purchase of an adult ticket. Kids tickets located in the Family Deck at Progressive Field, home to the expanded Kids Clubhouse. Get your tickets at Indians.com.
Mike Clevenger went 4 1/3 innings yesterday. It was the longest start by an Indians pitcher in that series against Minnesota. Tomlin's at 4 2/3 innings here tonight. And based on the pitch count, probably won't go much more than 5, I would imagine. If he can get through.
It looks like it, right?
Knowing Josh, he'll probably go into the dugout and want to keep the ball and go another inning, but the bullpen is hot right now. I don't know who's up, but it'll be up to Tito and Mickey Callaway to decide what they do if Tomlin can indeed get through this inning. That's hit a long way. Naquin won't get it. And the Yankees are going to score another run. 7-3 New York on a 2-out RBI double by Gary Sanchez.
That plugged the gap out in right center field. Unfortunately, at the 2-out walk, comebacks to score.
Josh Tomlin will not make it through the 5th inning. He goes 4 2/3. It can't keep the momentum as the Yankees come right back and add to their lead. He's going to make the Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen. And we'll tell you about the new Indians pitcher when we come back. Josh Tomlin just couldn't get out of trouble tonight.
Well, 5 extra base hits, and let's look at some of the location. It's almost like a lot of it leaking to the big part of the bat, to the barrel part of the bat. They gave him too much swinging room, and they were on it. They stayed back. They took him the other way. That was the double. That one there. After they just get on the board, you had 2 quick outs. He had the walk to Castro and then the double to put him away, and that's his night. 4 2/3 innings, 9 hits.
Rob Refsnyder will bat for New York with a runner at second and 2 outs. Just it's been an epidemic for the Indian starters. It's 5 straight games in which they have not been able to get through 5 innings. And a strike to the outside corner. One ball, 1 strike. Refsnyder rifled a single into center field in the 2nd inning. Then he flied to left to end the 3rd. Swung the bat well against the Indians back in Cleveland. Slowly chopped to third base.
Nothing you can do. Hold it. Yeah, hold on to it. That man on third. Round at third. Nothing he could do. He was playing way back. It's almost like a perfect bunt. Refsnyder just topped that ball down the line. If Ramirez throws it, if it's not right on target, he could just come around and score, even though it's Sanchez the catcher. So he knew. Wisely put it in your pocket. Give him the infield single. That's 10 hits now for the Yankees. And the Indians try to get that 3rd out and keep it a 4-run game.
Two on, 2 out. Aaron Hicks, the batter. Outside, ball 1. Field, hit a long way. Almonte on the track makes the catch to end the inning. A run on 2 hits, 2 left. New York up 7-3 through 5.
And access to Tribe Rewards, and today's Tribe Rewards TV code is Santana. Just visit Indians.com season tickets for complete details.
Kipnis, Lindor, Napoli for the Indians here in the 6th inning. Michael Pineda has gone 5. He's given up 3 runs on 5 hits. Yankee bullpen is quiet. He's just shy of 80 pitches on the night. No ball. It's 2 strikes to count. Out of play.
That Yankee bullpen is going to get up and start getting loose. Umpire will walk it out to the pitcher because that catcher took one up, and now we're going to get double barrel action. Could be the right-hander. Flyer to the left.
The 0-2 to Kipnis. Struck him out. In the dirt. They'll throw to first. 1 away. Game recap brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Brian McCann with an RBI double in the 3rd. That made it 2-0. Starlin Castro made it 6-zip with a grand slam. Indians got a 3-run shot from Chris Jimenez with 2 outs in the 5th. Cut the lead in half, but New York has since added a run to their advantage. It's been a challenging stretch for the Indians. But every team goes through it. The key, if you want to win the division, you want to get to October baseball, is you got to be able to weather the storm and eventually come out on the other side. As Mike Napoli said the other day, you've got to minimize these kind of
little
slumps,
bad slumps. So however you want to look at it. The Indians are still, I believe, the only team that hasn't lost 4 in a row this year. So they'll, I mean, they're this team built on pitching.
Lindor into right center. Ellsbury is there, and there are 2 away. Constant shuffling of the roster for the Indians. Michael Martinez comes back to the Tribe after the Red Sox put him on waivers. Eric Gonzalez and Ryan Merritt sent back to Columbus. Sean Morimondo getting the call. He's in the bullpen tonight, and he's up currently in the pen as we speak. There's Mike Napoli with 2 down on the bases empty. Two and 0. Napoli a foul back. 2 balls and a strike. Full count.
Didn't really have a chance there to try and get Napoli to swing. That pitch was just too far up and out of the strike zone. He struck out 6 tonight and walked just 1. And that was Napoli back in the second.
And he stays alive. A foul right back.
These two teams will get right back after it tomorrow afternoon. 1 o'clock game here. CC Sabathia against Corey Kluber.
Payoff pitch. In the air, right center. But Aaron Hicks has room. And the Indians go 1-2-3. In New York, and the Indians go back to the bullpen for Sean Moramondo. Made his major league debut last month in Toronto. He did a nice job when the bullpen needed him to eat up some innings.
Yeah, remember he had a tough time to get to Toronto.
Let's go down to Andre.
Well, with Moramondo in the game, look for that 25th man on this roster right now to rotate amongst pitchers from AAA Columbus. You guys just talked about all the roster moves over the last couple of days. Until the starters can give some length to the pitching staff, they're going to keep rotating this guy so they don't kill their bullpen, because Terry says if you lose your bullpen, you lose your season, and he's not going to do that.
Well, he would know, because a couple of years ago, back in 2013, and I think he did it again in 14, he used his bullpen more than anybody.
Yeah.
But he does it in a very calculating way. It's not like he's burning them out. He spreads the wealth, but I mean, boom. He's
They may go out for appearances, but they don't have a lot of the innings,
right,
you know, that travel with that. But that all stems, like Andre just said, from the starters. they've got to give you at least 5 innings, if not 6.
Well, and you know, yesterday afternoon, for example, Dan Otero pitched for, I believe it was the 3rd day in a row.
It was.
And Terry said afterwards, I know he was just pitching on fumes, and those are the things he wants to try to avoid.
Yeah, and they'll stay away from him for a day, if not 2, if he can.
Yeah. But a lot of pitchers, and this is what amazes me, a lot of pitchers will tell you, bullpen guys in particular, there is a point of diminishing returns where you do need a day, but most of those guys, they'd rather work more than less. In other words, they prescribe to the theory of I'll rust out before I'll wear out. And so that's that balancing act that managers and pitching coaches, you want to get a guy work, just not too much work.
Well, you look and you hope you can get your way through this game. You've got Kluber pitching tomorrow, and in his last start he went 7 shutout innings, pitched a great game, and hopefully you can do that again. He was the only guy that beat the Yankees back in Cleveland. But there's never a guarantee. You never know.
No. And I remember, guys back in the 90s, some of the bullpen guys that were, part of those teams that Mike Hargrove managed, and they said the worst thing that could happen to you as a reliever is you have a bad stretch where you don't pitch well. Then you're in Siberia where you don't get used.
Yeah, and that's not good.
And that's understandable because the manager's trying to win every night, and if you're not pitching well, he's not going to go to you until you prove that he's got your confidence. You have his confidence again. And so it can be tough for those guys as well.
Well, you can only hide so many guys in that bullpen when they're not doing the job. Unless how many blowout games do you have? We play a lot of close games.
Yeah.
And if you're playing close games, or
more than
2-run games, you better perform, or you will not be used.
Or you won't be around either. Ellsbury fouls one off. 2 singles, a double, 2 runs scored. New York essentially has back-to-back leadoff men at the top of their order.
Yeah, and Ellsbury's had a good night to this point. 3 for 3. 2 singles and a double. He scored a pair.
Another foul ball.
He's throwing a lot of strikes, and he's falling off a lot of pitches to stay alive.
Struck him out. 2 down. Nice job by Sean Moramondo to stay with it. Indians Yankees tomorrow 1 o'clock here on Sports Time Ohio. Kluber and CC will square off. Indians live at 12:30 with Alan Jensen. You can watch it here, stream it live on Fox Sports Go. Mark Teixeira taking its low, ball 1. Teixeira 2 for 3, a double, a single, a run scored. Announced that he will retire at season's end earlier this afternoon. Armando walks him on 4 pitches. This is how the trouble began in the 5th inning. bring up Brian McCann.
Well, you know, the 2 walks that Tomlin issued both came around to score.
Well, the one I don't really
one that was
count because that
intentional.
was they were working around him.
You're right.
I get that.
Yeah, that was intentional. He wanted to load the bases, try and get a double play ball to follow, but
the one on the 5th was just perplexing. Not so much the walk, but the pitch to Sanchez that he clobbered, crossed up the defense, and he just hit it into an area in the outfield where there was no defense. Rick, I wonder though for the starters, we talk so much about when they get on a roll how they feed off of each other. I want to do better than the next guy, and they get on that positive mojo. Could they possibly be in a rut where they're starting to feel like I've got to go out and save the day? And are they maybe just putting too much on themselves?
I would say they could be, yeah. I mean, that's only human. All right, you know, you see the guys fail in front of you and you're a unit, you're thinking, all right, it's my turn to step up. They certainly could be putting a lot of pressure on themselves. I would think that could go the same way as how your offense goes, where everybody's trying to do it on their own.
Yeah.
You know, and not just, hey, just trust me, let me go out and do my thing. A confidence thing? Possibly, yes.
Close pitch, didn't get the call. 3-1. The reason why you feel so good all season long about this Indians team is that because of those starting pitchers, they keep you from stretches like this because somebody in that rotation is going to step up and shut a team down.
Yeah, that's what they call your #1 starter for you. You also call him your stopper. Tomlin has been the stopper for this team all year because he's been great after a loss. They're coming off a win yesterday. And he went out and you know, didn't have his good stuff today. Gave up 9 hits at 7 runs.
3-2. And he walked back-to-back walks. And up comes Chase Headley. We have to hope that Corey Kluber is on his game, and he was really good his last time.
Oh, yeah, he was. He's been very good at his last 4 or 5 starts.
Yeah.
He's been dealing. I mean, he can't get to the mound quick enough for him. And then on Sunday you have Carrasco.
The newly anointed United States citizen, Carlos Carrasco.
Yeah, that's correct.
Well, key spot here for Morimoto to try to keep the Indians within striking distance. Down 4, and he's walked 2 back-to-back with 2 outs. Is going to hurt. Coming around third, Teixeira will score. 8-3 New York.
So for the second straight inning, it's been a 2-out walk that's been able to do a little bit of damage to the Tribe. They get a 2-out base hit. Headley takes it right back up the middle. It'll make it an 8-3 ball game. So they're adding on. They've scored now in 4 of the 6 innings in tonight's ball game.
And Starlin Castro to the plate. Up and away with a fastball. Castro back in the third. Ouch. Opposite field. Big fly.
Yeah, his first career grand slam. And those do a lot of damage. 4 runs with 1 swing.
Two and 0. 14 strikes, 13 balls now thrown by Sean Moromondo. He had 2 outs, bases empty. But the back-to-back walks set it up. Base hit by Headley. And now he's behind Castro 2-0. And he's got to turn this around on his own because there's nobody up in the pen.
Yeah, he's going to wear it tonight.
Well, it's closing in on a 30-pitch inning all of a sudden, too. What's wrong with that?
I don't know.
Be here all night. Bases loaded. 3rd walk of the inning. Here comes Mickey Callaway.
But the only thing Mickey could tell him is, son, you better start throwing strikes, because I think Tito's getting a little upset in the dugout. There's nobody warming up. It's one of those nights where he may have to wear it. But it doesn't help when you walk them. You're not making them hit their way on. He had the first 2 out, then a pair of walks, a base hit, and another walk. And
who is Billy Martin's pitching coach? Art
Fowler.
Art Fowler.
Yes.
He'd go out to the pitcher in this situation and said, son, I don't know what you're doing, but Billy's getting mad, the beer's getting warm, so you better figure this out quick.
Art Fowler, he traveled with Billy all over. Here in New York, he was with him in Oakland. I'm sure a lot of other places too.
Well, they're loaded up for Gary Sanchez, who had an RBI double in the 5th. And a first pitch strike. The Tigers still leading the New York Mets 4-2, and they're threatening to add to that lead. They've got 2 on, nobody out in the 6th.
Boy, this kid is having a tough time finding the zone.
So more balls and strikes in the inning, and has thrown 33 pitches now. And remember, there were 2 outs and nobody on base. But when I go back to our old theory about long at bats, and Ellsbury made him work hard. He struck out eventually, but he has not been the same pitcher since he struck him out.
Yeah, now he's frustrated out there, and there's still nobody up. But it's his inning. Let's go, kid. You got to do it on your own. Sometimes the harder you try to throw a strike, the tougher it is, and it seems like that's the boat he's in right now.
Yeah, not even close. Ball 4. Fourth walk in the inning. And the Yankees lead is now 9-3. Somebody's going to have to get up again. Mike Napoli, the veteran, is trying to settle him down, just trying to tell him, hey, take a deep breath, relax. Just a ball game.
Napoli went and said, son, my feet, they're sore. Let's go, man. I got to go sit out and let him hit it.
Kyle Crockett's going to get loose.
You got to come out of that air-conditioned booth in there. There's the breaking ball to try and slow him down. He was, you know, throwing his fastball up and away to the right-handers, maybe opening up and spinning off and trying to throw too hard, so you try and slow him down with the breaking ball.
And a called strike. Houston leading Texas tonight, down in the Lone Star State Series 4-0 in the fifth. The Astros have lost 9 out of 10 to the Rangers this year, 17 of the last 20 in the series. Chop to third, and what a play by Ramirez. He kept his foot on the bag and fielded the ball to end the inning. He went into a stretch, much like a first baseman would do on the other end of a long throw.
Wow. I'll tell you what, really a nice play. They may check and see if he kept his foot on the bag, and I think he did.
Really, in a 9-3 game? Let's go,
Yeah.
Joe. Inning over. Injury Lawyers at Elk & Elk, proud partner of the Cleveland Indians. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio. By Ford, built Ford tough. And by Firelands Regional Medical Center. Beautiful shot from Midtown Manhattan. But we're up here in the Bronx at Yankee Stadium, where it has been ugly. New York running roughshod tonight, up 9-3.
Yeah, it's been another ugly game for the pitching for the Indians. Pineda back out for the seventh. He's at 93 pitches now.
Couple of pitchers up in the Yankee pen. Ramirez takes, it's a strike. Shoots it just foul at the third base side. That was a heck of a play by Ramirez. And just to have the presence of mind to say, I'm going to keep my foot on the bag, I'm going to stretch out, I'm going to grab it and just end the inning.
And in turn, that was actually the only play. He wasn't going to get the runner going down the line, so that's the only play he had.
I thought it was going to go foul initially, but it stayed true.
I'm going to call him Stretch Ramirez.
Oh, he's got extra bags here. I think he's going to go for it.
Why
Here's
not?
the throw, and he is in there safely with a leadoff double.
Hicks has a very good arm out there in right field, but
We got a big carom off the sidewall too.
yeah, that ball went right over the bag, so Ramirez will get his second.
Watch Ramirez come in, stretch, keep his foot on the bag, and glove it.
Stretch Ramirez, the 5'8" third baseman, acting like Willie McCovey. Look at that.
Well, that's going to be it for Michael Pineda. Gives up a leadoff double. But the Yankees up 6 here in the 7th, and we'll be right back. Michael pitching shutout baseball against Texas. He was 0-3 in 3 starts against them this year with a 7.91 ERA. So I'm sure that's huge for the Astros to get him turned around. Brandon Guyer will pinch hit here against left-hander Richard Blyer.
Only a 16th game, but I got to tell you, the Yankee relievers are, they've got a 1.14 ERA since July 9th. Well, they've been doing a pretty good job.
Guyer sends a high fly ball to right. Backpedaling on the track is Hicks. He'll make the catch. Ramirez tags, goes to third, 1 away. That'll bring up Tyler Naquin. Naquin 0 for 2. Outside, he missed. 1-1. Shoots it just foul at the third baseline. Ball went up the third baseline. That keeps Ramirez from being able to come home.
Yeah, you don't take a chance. 6-run ball game. You just stay put. Even though, you know, if it's a really tight ball game or something like that happens, the pressure's going on, maybe. But this one's up the line and Ramirez sees it. He thought about it. Nah, never mind.
Chopped to short. That'll get a run home. Naquin picks up the RBI, his 35th. It's 9-4. And there are 2 down on the inning. And Joe Girardi's going to make a pitching change. Blyer faces 2, retires both. It's 9-4 New York. Right-hander Tyler Clippard on here. He'll be facing Abraham Almonte. Seems a bit odd in a 5-run game to make a pitching change with a switch hitter up and 2 outs and bases empty after Blyer retired both hitters that he faced. But Joe Girardi working in his bullpen with a 5-run lead.
Well, probably keep him in roles that he tries to keep him with on a consistent basis.
Out of play. And again, every manager, you're balancing that. You want to get guys some work. You want to get some. You don't want to overwork certain guys, but
you know that's when you look up and you say, well, "Come on, why can't the guy finish the inning?" It's 9-4. I mean, that's what everybody's sitting here thinking.
I know that's what drives fans crazy sometimes.
Right, because that's what they talk about, slowing the game down and the game taking time. Well, it's the bullpen that does it. And then you make your move and he gives up a base hit, and you're going, "See, the other guy could have done that. Why'd you take him out?"
Well, I think it is something. Look, I don't know that anything's really going to come of it in terms of any radical change, but it is something that they've at least looked at and they're talking about it. You know, what are you going to change the way the game is played though by saying,
come on, we're
if this guy starts the inning, you can't.
Yeah, you can't do that. We're softening the game up too much as it is. You can't tell them when you can use a pitcher and when you can't.
Let me ask you this, just as a pure fan of the game, remove yourself as a former player and as an announcer, just as a pure fan.
Okay.
Is it a better game with all of these power specialized arms from the 6th, 7th inning on, coming out of the bullpen, one after another?
If you're trying to win a game, yeah. If you're trying to win a baseball game, what's the object?
I'm
to win.
As a fan, though, as you watch the game, is it fun? Is it enjoyable to watch?
I don't like to see pitching changes. No, I don't. I don't like to see all the matchups, but
I think that's where they're looking at it.
Yeah, but that's why the game has changed, is because that's the way it is now. They're specializing. So if that's what you're going to get, then you're not going to get quicker baseball games. You got to get what you're looking for.
I remember, Rick, there was a time when I would watch baseball, and granted, when I was growing up, we didn't see a ton of baseball on TV. The only kind of pitching changes that I saw, like we see on an everyday basis now, was in the World Series or in the playoffs.
Yeah, where it was just
where if the starter didn't have it, he was out in the 3rd inning, and you're going to the bullpen.
Right.
You didn't see it in the regular season games like we see now.
Well, that's the big part of the game that's changed, where starters now don't complete games. They don't. I mean, they say that that's their thought process, is completing a game.
No,
it's a thing of the past. They won't let you complete a game. You get to the 100 pitch mark, it's all right, kid, thanks, great job. Now it's getting to a point where starters are looking at 6 innings of work, and that's pretty soon they'll change that column to be a complete game. Well, you went 6, that's a CG.
The 1-2 hit him. Well, so the Yankee Clippard has given up a hit and a walk.
A hit batter.
I mean, a hit batter, yeah, excuse me. And so you got 2 on, nobody out, or 2 outs. Oh, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Chris Gimenez, boom, 3-run homer with 2 outs back in the 5th.
Yeah, he tried to bring him back, cut the lead in half. You know, hit that slider, and you say, okay, we're back. But then again, the Indians couldn't hold it, because after they scored 3, Tallman gave up 1, and then Moromondo came up and gave up 2. And
Redbird said that home run by Gimenez gives the Indians the same number of home runs they hit all of last season.
As a team?
Yep.
Well, I know as far as right-handed home runs, they're over the mark, you know, of hitting last year.
Popped him up. First ball swinging to Shera. Inning over. Stretch time in New York. 9-4 Yankees. Then before we continue on, let's go down to Andre, who has news on the latest United States citizen.
Yes, Carlos Carrasco, the starting pitcher for the Cleveland Indians, had a big week this week. He's been working on becoming a U.S. citizen for over the last 6 months or so, and his whole teammates have been helping him over the last few weeks to be able to attain this. He said it's one of the biggest achievements he's achieved in his entire life.
Good for him.
You know what? In the end, everything was good. You know, really happy on the first. When I get there, just kind of nervous a little bit. But when I get out, everything was different. And when we did the ceremony, it's way different. You know, and I think it's something that you know, that I've been studying for a couple months now. I did with my family, my teammates, everyone helped me. I'm just happy right now.
Well, congratulations,
congratulations
to Carlos.
right.
A lot of hard work, and certainly I know he's very excited for both he and his family. See the defensive changes for Cleveland.
Well, Matt, I think the coolest thing about this, and for most people that aren't able to see what we see day in, was that his teammates were so with him in trying to get this taken care of. Whether it was Dan Otero, whether it was Jason Kipnis, whether it was myself or even our camera guy, Mark Koha, we've all read questions to him. And I think he knows more about that test than any of us would know about it, because we've all been helping him over the last few weeks, and he was excited to tell all of us that he had passed when he passed yesterday.
Well, it's one of those things that's kind of like, to me, that's walking the walk. You know, you can say all you want about, oh yeah, I love it here, you know, I want to embrace the culture and all those things, but when you apply for citizenship and you follow through with it and you gain it, that to me is following through.
Yes, it is.
Congratulations to Carlos. That's awesome. And as Andre can attest, that ball is smoked. Deep left. Back is Geyer. No chance. Aaron Hicks with only his 4th home run of the year.
Well, there's a breaking ball he's not going to get back. And they get to double figures. They get their 10th run on the board.
Crockett's up in the bullpen. Top of the order, Gardner is 0 for 4. That bounced about 4 feet in front of the plate. As Andre and I can both attest to, when you interview players, you spend as much time in a clubhouse as we have over the years. There are a lot of guys who come from different places on the globe. You know, not just Latin America, but we had Shin-Soo Choo. And
right.
A lot of these guys, when they first get here, you can tell there's an uneasiness about having to converse in English. In particular, doing interviews as Gardner rounds the bases all the way to third with a triple.
Yeah, he's got to get him out of there now, doesn't he?
And some guys are you know, really wanting to do interviews in English. Some guys are a little bit nervous about it, but I really applaud the guys who continue to try. They may not be real good at it at first, but they continue to try, they work at it, and boy, after a couple of years, you wouldn't even know it was the same person.
Yeah.
Just by putting themselves out there.
It's not an easy thing to do.
I wouldn't want to try to do it in reverse.
Well, right.
Night's over for Sean Moromondo. Timeout for a pitching change. New York up 10-4. style.
Cheapaw. That's Opie.
Oh my, here's Kyle Crockett on to face Jacoby Ellsbury with a runner at third, nobody out, and a 10-4 New York lead. How old do you suppose Ron Howard is these days?
He's got to be about 60.
And people still probably holler out to him Opie on the streets.
Oh, yeah.
And he probably wants to go out and punch every one of them.
Yeah, as many great movies as he's
think about
done.
it.
Think
His
about it.
career's advanced
Oh, my goodness.
so much, but yet he's still in the eyes of a lot of us. Hey, there's Opie.
Well, it's where you start.
Now, I think he's passed away, but if you would have happened to have seen Edmund Gwynn walking down the street, would you have yelled up to him, hey, you two Utes? Or would you say, hey, Herman?
That's a good question.
Might depend on how old you are, too.
Yeah, I could say both.
Yeah, right.
2 Utes was pretty good, but then I would be Herman.
Yeah, he's Herman Munster.
Right.
The 1-1 was.
And people are sitting at home saying, what are you talking about?
10-4 New York here in the 7th.
Well, in games like this, you have to find something to talk about.
Well, we've had 5 of these in a row where the Indians starting pitching has not been able to get through 5 innings. That has not happened since 1985. Another ball hit toward the right center field gap, and a miscommunication, and the ball drops.
It sure is.
Another run will score. It's 11-4. Almonte came over. Chisholm or Naquin converged, and it looked like Tyler was either he heard Almonte coming or he heard him call for it and stopped.
Well, if you're the center fielder, you're the captain. Now, he's got a long way to go. You know what? Get out of the way. See, he went deep and then tried to come in. He's looking over. You can't look at the right fielder. You've got to come in and be aggressive and take it. That's what you have to do. I'll tell you what, either one of them could have caught it, but if you're the center fielder, you're the captain. He's going to learn to go after it and catch it. And that's exactly what he has to do. That'll go as a base hit. It should have been an out. But that's how you learn. Now you've got guys shifting. Almonte just moved over to the right because he was in left and Chisenhall was up there. I understand it all. But when it's all said and done, whoever's the man in the middle of the diamond is the captain out there, and you run all the traffic off.
Mark Teixeira. Ellsbury, his night over. To short, Lindor will go to second. There's a force on the first. Double play, 2 down. Tomorrow on FS1, David Ortiz and the Red Sox take on the Adrian Gonzalez-led Los Angeles Dodgers. And the coverage begins at 4 o'clock tomorrow. You can also watch it live on Fox Sports Go. Brian McCann doubled in a run back in the third. He has walked, he has scored 2, he's driven in 2. In the air, it's Lindor, and the inning is over. 2 more for the Yanks. They lead at 11-4. Is presented by authority of the Cleveland Indians and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. (11-4) New York, and here in the 8th inning, a bunch of changes. We'll start with the new pitcher, and that is number 26, Johnny Barbado.
These are names I've never heard of before.
Yeah, second stint with the Yankees this year. He was up, let's see, in April. Just called back on Thursday. I guess that means yesterday. Yeah, his last appearance was in May the 8th against the Red Sox. A while since he's been up. Jason Kipnis 1 out of 3. Tigers still lead the Mets 4-2, bottom of the 8th in Detroit. And Kip draws a leadoff walk. Gonna get a pinch runner for Jason as Michael Martinez comes into the ball game. You know, I mean, that's the shame about where New York is right now as a ball club, is that with the changes that they made in terms of trades with their bullpen, this is the only thing you don't want to have happen. You don't want to let them turn it into a blowout. As long as you keep it close, you've got a chance, because it's not Miller and Chapman. It's just Betances now late in the ballgame.
Yeah. Yep.
But they have not been able to contain New York. Let's see. Yankees.
So far to this point, though, I mean, since like I said, right after the All-Star break, right after they were around Cleveland, they pitched pretty well coming out of the bullpen.
It's the most runs the Yankees have scored since they beat the Indians 11-7 back in Cleveland. Lindor with a fly ball to center. That's going to drop for a hit. First two aboard.
Off the end of the bat for Frankie, but it falls in. It was a breaking ball away, a little backdoor breaking ball that he puts a full swing on. Off the end of the bat, you can see, but it's a base hit. His first of the night.
So in the last 44 games the Yankees have played, the only 2 times they've reached double figures was against the Indians.
4 out of the last 5 games, Indians have given up double figures.
Napoli shoots one foul. Defensively now for New York, Aaron Hicks moves from right to center. Ref Snyder moved from second base to right. Castro from short to second. Torres now the shortstop. Roman in first. The 1-1. Napoli with a base hit in the left field. Coming around third, Michael Martinez will score. And it's an 11-5 ball game as Napoli extends his hitting streak to 7 games and has driven in his 78th run of the year.
Stayed back on the breaking ball here and lines it into left field. You can see he just hesitated that little bit to stay back. So after the leadoff walk to Kipnis, you get back-to-back singles from Lindor and Napoli. The Indians make it 11-5, and they have the first, still 2 guys on and nobody out. And Rothschild comes up. Yeah, you see, that's the tough thing when you have young guys, young pitchers, and you're in a blowout game and they're getting them an opportunity to pitch. And a lot of times we see it. I mean, we've seen it from our team. We see it from a lot of other teams that some guys get out there in situations you figure, okay, I want to get them some work, and it doesn't happen. They end up getting taken out of the ball game.
Yeah. As you said, you can't hide.
No, you cannot hide anybody on a 25-man roster. You might be able to for a little bit.
Pitch on the outside corner to Jose Ramirez, who's 2 for 3 with a single, a double, and a run scored. And there's another knock. Ramirez has his 3rd hit of the evening, and the bases are loaded with nobody out. And so now the Yankees are scrambling a little bit with their bullpen.
Well, there's another spinner out over the plate. Ramirez takes advantage of it. He swung the bat well his last 3 at bats. He has hits.
Joe Girardi wants his catcher Sanchez to go out and stall for time.
Yeah, stall for more time.
That's all we've had in this game for the last couple innings. Dale Scott says, all right, let's go, boys.
Yeah, enough. And then he's looking into the dugout at Girardi saying, if you're going to move, let's go, make a move. And he's going to come walking out when it's all said and done, especially if he's ready. And here he comes.
So we've got a timeout for a pitching change. A run is in. The Indians have the bases loaded. They're down 11-5, but they're not done yet. We'll be right back. This is maybe a good time to revisit this because it was 15 years ago tonight that the Indians were down 14-2 and came all the way back to beat the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah, wasn't that a Sunday night game?
It was. National TV audience.
Sunday
Sold out
night
crowd.
game. Hard to believe, but it certainly did happen.
Adam Warren, new Yankee pitcher, and he's on to do one thing: limit the damage. The Yankees lead it by 6. Indians have them loaded with nobody out, and Brandon Guyer to the plate with Tyler Naquin on deck. And if Warren gets in any kind of trouble at all, you can probably bet that we'll see Dellin Betances.
Well, hard to believe that they're not going to be able to, hold this.
There's a base hit into right field by Guyer. Scoring is Lindor. Napoli stops at third. It's 11-6. Keep the carousel a turning.
Yeah, that's really what you're trying to do. One at a time. Don't get greedy.
Straight hits in the inning.
After the leadoff walk, there it is, and he's jumping on that first. Looked like a little cut fastball. Lines it into right field. So there you go. 4 consecutive hits. 11-6.
Tying run suddenly gets to the on-deck circle. And Tyler Naquin, who is 0 for 3 with an RBI and a run scored, to the plate.
You need one to the short porch and right about now.
Pitch was away and he swung and missed. You pitch here for more than a minute, as a late inning reliever in these situations, you can't give a batter a pitch middle in.
Right, you can't pitch to where one swing can give you 4 runs. That's exactly right. I mean, I'm not saying you can't go inside, but you better not miss, out over the plate and give them a little swinging room. And as we've said, it hasn't been the Indians' offense through these tough times here in the last week. It has been the pitching. And this guy, Sanchez, has been to the mound a lot tonight with the pitchers. Fans here got a little edge to them, even though they still have a 5-run lead.
Well, they've watched a 500 Yankee club throughout the year, and I guess for the most part they've underperformed, at least in terms of the locals' expectations. So they're not going to cut them any slack. Chased one up high. Naquin down on strikes. One away.
Got him to go after that pitch up in the zone, maybe just a hair above the belt. And gets the first out here in the 8th inning.
Abraham Almonte 2 for 3, single, double, run scored.
Monte lined a double down the 3rd baseline into left field and got the double, and then followed that up with a single in his last at bat. So he's 2 for 3.
There's Dellin Betances. He's getting loose, getting ready. Out of play, 1-2. Can the man with the Tommy Hunter bat deliver here in the clutch?
Only from the right side.
Oh, only from the right side?
Yeah. I think that's what Andre said.
Okay. Whose bat's he using from the left side?
I don't know. That's my left-handed bat. That's my right-handed bat.
In the air, left center field, caught. 2 down. Knapp comes home to score on the tag up. Indians have scored 3 times here in the 8th. And they're down 11-7 with 2 on and 2 out. Chris Gimenez the batter, and it was Gimenez who jacked a 3-run homer with 2 outs in the 5th inning. They got the Indians back in the ball game at that point. He hits a 3-runner here, and we do have a ball game. That was a crazy at bat that saw Gimenez hit one foul that had the distance down the left side, and then got a slider that he just tattooed. This was the one that
Had to be looking for this pitch. I mean, it was out. Gave him some swinging room, but he was looking for it. He was waiting on it, and he hit it.
out of play, 0-2. One way or the other, this is the last batter Warren will face. High pop. Looks like it's playable. No, it gets out into the seats by a couple of rows as Romine gave it a long look, and Gimenez stays alive. Final in Detroit. Tigers beat the Mets 4-3. They'll close the gap to 2 games unless the Indians rally. Low and away. Five in the third for New York. 2 in the sixth, 2 in the seventh. And the disappointing thing about the runs in both the sixth and seventh innings, or I should say the fifth and sixth innings, was that there were 2 outs, nobody on base.
And yeah,
when the damage occurred.
Walks got him going.
Struck him out. Tribe gets 3. It's 11-7 New York. As we go to the bottom of the 8th, Indians trying to get back in it. 4 straight hits in the inning. Get them some life, but they're still down 4.
Out there, the only change for the Indians. Michael Martinez will move in and go to second base. It'll be Headley, Castro, and Sanchez, the scheduled hitters here. Yankees with 14 hits on the night. Indians with 11. First pitch swinging. And the Yankees tonight have scored 5 out of the first 7 innings. 1 in the first, 5 in the third, 1 in the fifth, 2 in the sixth, and 2 in the seventh.
Yeah. They have not been able to hold them off the board. This is not murderer's row either.
No, that's true. Yeah, coming into the game, 12th in batting average, 12th in runs scored, 12th in home runs. Yeah, this is, as far as the Yankees lineup, one that you certainly would not even fear to face. But they've done some damage tonight.
Yeah, this is still the major leagues, and if you don't execute pitches, you can get hurt. 1 down. Play of the game brought to you by Pat O'Brien Chevrolet. 1 swing equals 4 points. Grand slam for Starlin Castro in the third. That made it 6-0, and that's an awful big hole for anybody to try to climb out of.
Yes, it is when you're talking about the third inning,
and especially on the road.
Yep. That was his first career grand slam, by the way, and it went opposite field. Just a little poke to right here.
But I will say that even though it was 6-0 at that point, if they are able to hold them off the rest of the way, could be talking about a different story.
Well, that's what we talk about, and we've had enough time to talk about it over the last week.
Unfortunately,
when you fall behind like that early, you have to play perfect the rest of the way. When your offense to try to get you back into it, you have to be perfect pitching wise, and that's the one thing that just can't happen. That's no catch. That was a nice effort.
It was a good effort, but
And
you
it was
could
a
tell
nice
he
try. Yeah, he came in on the slide and did a split, but that ball hit the ground as it goes into his glove. So it'll be a base hit for Castro going to right. He comes in, and that's a little slicing liner. Yeah, it clearly bounces there. I didn't think it bounced that far out in front. But it'll go as a base hit. Good effort. You know, when you see, and you will see a few of those games throughout the course of the year where teams can come back from big deficits, but it's rare for the number of times that teams fall behind like that to come back and really get a victory. It's something special. I will give the Indians offense a lot of credit. They haven't quit. They never caved in. It's easy to go up there and swing at the first pitch. They don't give away at bats. Even in that Minnesota series, they had 5, 5, and 6 runs before they went out and pounded 9. And here you go. They have 7 tonight. It'll be up to Corey Kluber tomorrow to come on out, and it's a quick turnaround. It'll be a 1 o'clock start against former Indian CC Sabathia.
I don't know what the answers are for the starters to get kind of back on track, other than you fall back to the old axiom of pitch to pitch and trying to execute each and every pitch.
One pitch at a time.
Yeah.
You go back to the basics. Strike 1. Get ahead of the hitter. Get 2 strikes. Expand the zone. And go back to the basics, really. Don't get ahead of yourself. Don't try and do too much.
That one way outside. Down to second goes Castro on a wild pitch. Watch where the location is.
Yeah, no, that's probably about an 8-foot miss. You don't see that often, do you? That had to slip out of his hand. If this was 30 years ago, I'd say he might have had Vaseline on that pitch, but it got away from him.
You know, speaking of that, I was watching one of those classic games, the old games that they show every once in a while. And our man Don Sutton was doing the color commentary while he was still in his career. So it was a postseason game. And he was talking about Mike LaCosse. I don't know if you remember him. He was
right-handed,
pitcher
big,
with
tall,
the Cincinnati.
Right, yes, I do.
And he was describing his repertoire. The fastball, I think he threw a slider, sinker, slider, change, and he said, and he throws a legal cut fastball. And Joe Garagiola just had a ball with that. He's like, well, anybody would know what a legal cut fastball is. But you might have to know what an illegal cut fastball is if you know what a legal one is.
Don Sutton knew what an illegal cut fastball
and Don said, I feel like I should be taking the 5th Amendment right now as I describe this. But I thought it was interesting because this game was, gosh, I don't know.
Had to be in
30 years ago at
80s.
least. I think it was before that. It might have been, I think it was Cincinnati in the playoffs, 79, 70, yeah, I think 79. And I was just wondering how many times, guys, the cut fastball, it seems like it's just such a pitch of the moment, you know, the last 5, 6, 7 years.
About 10 years, yeah, the last 10.
But here's a guy in 79 who was at least experimenting with a cutter.
Yeah, but when he meant cutter, he meant the ball was cut. He didn't mean just throwing it with your fingers.
Here's the pitch. Swung on and missed, and down on strikes is Gary Sanchez.
That's when they never threw balls out when it hit the dirt. And that's when the ball was scuffed and you used it. They didn't throw balls out of play. You
Not
never
like
had
now.
no.
Yeah.
You never had. Yeah, I'm curious to even venture to guess. I know they go through anywhere from about 8 dozen baseballs up for a game now, because we've talked to Jack Eft about that, who's in charge of the umpires room. You know, depending on the foul balls and every ball that goes into the dirt, they never ever used to do that. So I mean, I would say you'd go through maybe 6 dozen way back in the days. If
Just
that.
on balls in the stands, you know, you lose a ball that way.
And that would be, I would think, a lot.
Interesting, the Indians are going to intentionally walk Rob Refsnyder and pitch to Aaron Hicks, who homered his last time up. With 2 down in the inning. So Crockett trying to keep it a 4-run game and give the Indians at least one last shot. It'll be against, I assume it'll be against Betances. It's not a safe situation, so Joe Girardi has another guy up in the bullpen. Maybe that's just in case the Yankees hit a 3-run homer and blow this thing wide open.
I don't know why he would be coming in. I don't know his pitching pattern though over the last few days. Maybe he needs some work, and he will bring him in if he's got him hot. But then again, I don't know how he's pitched the last few days. Okay, so it's Friday. The last time he was in a ball game's Monday, so we're going to see him. It's time to get him out there. He's got to get some rust off.
A little bit outside, ball 1 to Aaron Hicks. Swung out and missed, pulled the string on him. 1-1.
The fans are yelling, let's go.
The 1-1.
The last train's out of here at midnight. Let's go.
How about Dallas Keuchel? Complete game shutout against the Texas Rangers. They had handed him his lunch in 3 previous starts this year, but he shut them out. Astros needed that one badly. They'd lost 8 out of their last 10, but they closed the gap to 5.5 on the Rangers in the AL West. And here goes Chris Jimenez out to talk to Crockett.
What the problems are, and it's been on both sides tonight. I don't know.
I know New York historically plays long games, but tonight's game is one that,
no, they used to play long games.
When you talk about the commissioner's initiative of trying to speed up the action in the game, this is exhibit A as to.
Well, I wonder why, if he's happened to be in town watching this game.
The 2-1 outside, 3 balls and a strike.
He balked. He balked.
Move up the runners.
Yes, he balked. He got his foot on the rubber. He started, then he stepped off. I'm not sure what the indecision is here. I'm really not sure. Watch, he starts. He's on the rubber, and there it is. He started and then stopped, and then backs off, and that's a correct call.
You can see Jimenez just sort of drop his head as if to say, "Oh,
yeah, what are we doing? This is getting embarrassing."
3-1 pitch. Fouled off his foot, full count. left him, and the bases are loaded. I obviously am missing something here. I just don't understand the intentional walk to Refsnyder with 2 outs.
Well, and then you get in and fall behind in the count. You throw a 3-1 changeup, 3-2 changeup, and walk a guy.
Well, now he's got a pitch to Gardner here with the bases loaded and 2 out. Lefty-lefty matchup. Gardner was 0 for 4 to start this game, and then he tripled to right center off Morimando in the 7th. And again, that was a decision, I think, born out of where the Indians bullpen is at because of the excessive wear and tear that they've had to deal with in the previous 4 games. Morimando threw almost 40 pitches in the 6th inning, and Terry sent him back out to start the 7th. He gave up a home run to Hicks, the triple to Gardner before he had to take him out. And now he's extending Crockett here in this 8th inning. And Gardner slaps a base hit to left field. That's going to score 2 more. And it's now 13-7 New York.
Breaking ball. Up, out over the plate. How many times have we said that tonight? So they get another 2-out hit. They have 16 hits now, 13 runs. Let's see. 8. Indians have walked 8 hitters today. 5 have scored. I know there's been a few intentional walks in there and everything like that, but point being.
Well, you can't defend it,
and then you have 16 hits.
It's not so much that, you know, the walk scoring. It's the walks have set up innings all 3 times, or they've extended innings by loading the bases. It's just Ronald Torreyes with a fly ball on the left. Back is Geyer to make the grab, and the inning is over. 2 more for New York. We'll go to the 9th. 13-7 Yankees. And really, it's nothing new. I mean, this is a what do you say? You know, a one time. You know, it's not a big deal. A couple of times, okay. After that, though, you start looking at it. You got a problem. It's a trend. You know, you're talking 5 straight now. But it's one thing to say, okay, we've got a problem. It's another to how do you correct it?
Well,
you can't change your whole rotation. You can't have a closed door meeting and you know, throw a tantrum and yell and try to get people fired
fellas,
up.
you better start pitching better.
Yeah.
Period.
As we said before, I think it goes back to the basics. Separate each pitch from the last and try to execute. Just focus on executing each and every pitch. Tonight, I think what we've seen is maybe a cumulative effect of the starters not able to go deep, and now what the impact it's had on the bullpen.
Correct. I would certainly agree there. With any time, and this happens to any club, when your starters cannot go out there and give you at least 5 innings, boy, those outs are tough to get. Now, when you do it throughout the course of a week, it certainly is going to have a big impact on it. And you got to save that bullpen, as Tito said. You can't. There will be a train running from Cleveland to Columbus.
Well, yeah.
If the starters continue to pitch like this,
you burn out the bullpen and you killed your chance. And so he's trying to work that fine line. But going to need some help from the other guys too. The starters are going to have to kick it into gear. And they know, nobody knows it more than they do. Not like they live in a vacuum. Santana draws a walk. Recapping the keys to the game that were brought to you by Mazda. They did not pick up the pen. Pineda was okay. He was really good through the first 4 innings. I mean, dominant. Gave up 2 hits, struck out 5. Looked like he was going to fly through it. And then Jimenez got him with a 3-run homer in the 5th. But he came right back, worked a 1-2-3 6th. His night ended after he gave up a leadoff double in the 7th. That run would come around to score. But all in all, he did what he had to do on a night where his offense gave him a huge 6-run cushion to work with. Now Nick Goody can't throw a strike. Dellin Betances has sat down in the Yankee bullpen. But Goody fools around and walks a couple more and gives up a couple hits. Betances is going to have to get up once again. Michael Martinez, his first at bat back in an Indians uniform. He was with the Tribe earlier this year. They had to put him on waivers when they made some roster moves. He ended up going to the Boston Red Sox. And then the Red Sox had to put him on waivers because he doesn't have options left. So you can't send him back down. So once the Red Sox put him back on waivers to call up their young hot shot, forget the guy's name. But that's how the Indians ended up getting Michael back. Benintendi, Andrew Benintendi.
okay. Well, I can see how you forgot it.
Just rolls off the tongue.
Especially at about 11 o'clock after a 4-hour game.
The 1-2, and it's down and in. Tito likes Eric Gonzalez, thinks he's got terrific skills, but he's still a young kid.
Yeah.
And just that utility role is better suited for a veteran who knows that role. Somebody like Martinez, he was thrilled to be able to get him back.
Yeah. It's not a role for a young player that is experienced in the major leagues for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if he was playing every day, it would be another
story.
thing.
Yep.
Because he is an everyday player, especially down at the minor leagues. But when you come up here and sit, it doesn't work. It just does not work out. this is like a September game or a spring training game where, you know, it seems like the rosters are full. And
It feels like it, doesn't it?
yeah, it sure does. It has that feel to it. All day long, a lot of pitches, you know. Our two relievers, the last two came in, there was two of them, and they throw about 70 pitches between them.
Martinez out looking. One down in the ninth. Ninth strikeout for Yankee pitching tonight.
There's that fastball right there. Had a little comeback to it, and it locks up Martinez. He'll go down out number one.
Francisco Lindor 1 for 4. He singled and scored in the eighth. Dale Scott calls it a strike, 1-1. Lindor wraps one down the left field line into the corner, and it's a foul ball.
He was out of our sight line, but you can see the slice to it, about 3 feet fouled on into the corner.
High fly ball, center field. Hicks has it, 2 down. Mike Napoli with 1 hit in 3 official at-bats tonight. He's also walked. Drove in a run, scored 1 in the 8th. No balls, 2 strikes, 2 down. Indians down 6. Yankee fans on their feet. 39,252 the official attendance here tonight. It's funny, you forget sometimes just how big Yankee Stadium is, because 39,000, while it's a great crowd in most ballparks, look like a lot of empty seats tonight. And of course, a lot of these folks that were here have already headed for home. Fouled back. The locals tell us that on Friday, during the summer months, especially July and August, a lot of folks head for the Jersey Shore and they get out of here for the weekends. Now 1-2 pitch to Napoli. A little bit outside.
A little bit off the outside edge. Again, really?
Well, I guess you've got a young catcher learning the staff. New
It's
young
13-7 in the 9th inning with 2 strikes.
Put
Call a slider
put
away.
a 1 down, whatever.
Yeah, right. It doesn't matter.
2-2. Checked it, fouled it. Here again is the 2-2 pitch, and he fouled it off. The catcher, Sanchez, couldn't hold it. And Napoli lives to see another pitch.
Maybe the pitcher should call him out and say, why didn't you hold on to that, and the game would be over. There's the slider. There it goes into the glove and just comes out the end. Not much you can do as a catcher. They either stick into the pocket or they don't. That one trickled out.
And the 2-2. Checked, it was low. Full count. You know, again, that's what you have to admire about a guy like Mike Napoli. That's just, I don't know. It's professionalism. Here it is. You're down 6, 2 outs, and yet here he is going to see 6, 7 pitches and then at bat again. He just not about to give one away. He'll grind you through every single AB. The payoff, up high, ball 4. He's walked 2 in the inning. And up comes Jose Ramirez, who already has 3 hits tonight. So the Indians are down 6. They're not going to get Dellin Betances up again, are they? Yes, they are. Thought maybe they'd wait another batter or 2, but
No, he won't throw. He's going to sit.
it's probably warm already. Just lob a few and he'd be ready to go if needed. Oh, 1 pitch. That was a good one. Tied him up. It's 0-2. Third hardest batter to strike out in the league. And when he gets 2 strikes on him, his batting average is 10th best in the AL. But he got him here. And the ball game is over. Yankees winning ugly, but still winning. 13-7 is the final. And the Indians will have to regroup and try to come out tomorrow and find a way to get their starters a little deeper into the ball game, give themselves a better chance to win. Because at the end of the day, they continue to score enough to win. Offensively, even getting in a big hole doesn't seem to faze them at all. But climbing out of these big holes night in, night out, getting more and more challenging.
Well, it's on the rotation now. It certainly is. They have to come up and they have to put up, and we'll get a chance to see Kluber do it tomorrow.
13-7 is the final. We'll have a final thought or two right after this.